Okay, so we are live. It is okay. Did you mute your tab, Ellie? I guess we can start.
Yeah, I mute here. Okay, hi all. Today, Elise and I are thrilled to share how our team optimized pull request reviews using CI to the ThoughtWorks client. So let's start with introductions.
Okay, so hello all. My name is Elise. I have been a software developer for about 6 years, and I've been working with Android from apps to even Android open source code since 2018. I joined ThoughtWorks in 2021, and just as curiosity, as a hobby, I love dogs, and my dog is probably sleeping right now.
I am Aline Aires. I've been working as an Android developer since 2012. Currently, I'm lead mobile developer at ThoughtWorks and tech lead of a multidisciplinary specialist mobile team. I love to share knowledge with the Android community, love to drink coffee, and I'm mother of a 3-year-old cute boy. So let's start talking about the context we are in and the role of our cross-mobile strategic team in all of this. To explain how our team optimized pull request reviews, we need to tell you over the next slides how it fits in the process of reviewing pull requests. A disclaimer here, this is a case for a specific client from ThoughtWorks with a specific development process. As consultants, we adapt solutions to the needs of our clients. So this is not a bulletproof solution, but it works just fine for us. With that being said, what's the difference between system teams and other teams? System team is a strategic cross-mobile team responsible for the path to production for the client's apps. We do not deliver feature or products. However, we build or automate the way to get the product into the final user's hands. The other teams are responsible for developing, testing, and delivering the features or products, which will be in pull requests using the CI and CD pipelines built by system team. Now, this is a diagram showing the system team and the other teams' responsibilities. Number 1 and 2 shows how the teams are responsible for developing, testing, and delivering the product. On number 3, we see that system team acts to review the pull requests and integrate the code from the teams. After the code integration, number 4, we are responsible for generate the release candidates in a specific process called release train. Once the new release candidate is available, as seen on number 5, the system team also does the validation of the critical paths, which are every essential feature for the app to be launched in the stores, Play Stores, and Apple Store.
Okay, so given the team's context, System Team fits into it by supporting native mobile code quality, by following up CI and CD pipelines daily, and by maintaining and creating new automations in case it is necessary. By code reviewing, focused on quality, not on business rules, as System Team do not have visibility of them, and in case the pull request is approved, by integrating this code into the main development branch. System team also takes care of the release train, as Aline said, and validates release candidates for critical paths, and does other processes related to path to production, such as App Store review, app rollout, and so on.
Yeah, the complexity of our day-to-day work includes managing CI and CD of 2 native mobile super apps for Android and iOS, with native and hybrid modules, teams in different levels of maturity, and the big issue of system team scalability versus demands. We aim to reduce our operational tasks by automating all the quality gates, since it's important in order to easily scale the operation in a healthy way. By doing so, we also prevent the system team to grow to support any other teams.
Great. So, given the context, we want to now present our motivation and the problems to be solved. But first, we need to start by talking about our code review processes, which are focused on code quality, as we already said. We, alongside the client and the developers community, have come into the conclusion of several code review quality rules, such as unit testing, avoiding code smells, and using the organization design system. These were well documented and spread across the company, so all should bear in mind the importance of these patterns while developing. Nevertheless, that wasn't enough for code review quality problems cease to exist. We often had large volumes of pull requests with quality problems that led to long hours of review and discussion with different teams that are not so mature in these quality patterns. All of this could also lead to production bugs if you let them go without following the rules. It was not a simple task whatsoever.
Yeah. These frequent problems presented by Elise lead us to look for answers to the following questions. How to not become a bottleneck and to the other teams in the CI process and decrease our code review time. Even though the documentation about the code review rules were shared with the teams, how the automation of these rules could be the key of our solution.
So let's talk about the key, the solution. So we need to talk about our CI pipeline. We already had one that was improved to also include code review rules that were possible to be automated. Not all of them were possible to be automated. We chose this because all developers have an easy access to the CI pipeline, and it also provides a quick feedback without relying on others to have time to review your code.
And to build the solution, the tech stack was mainly focused on Fastlane plugins for the win. Since we already had experience using it, and it was pretty simple to integrate with our pipelines in Bitrise. Therefore, Fastlane communicates and does actions using Bitbucket API. Our team created a private repository to host the Fastlane plugins. It also has business rules, is a cross-platform solution used for both Android and iOS.
Great. So introducing now our workflow, how we implemented this solution. So before, before, let's be slow. My fingers too fast passing the slides. In order for us to talk about our solution, we first need to compare them. So let's check how our CI workflow was before the modifications. The pipeline, as you can see, is set up to build the app by cloning the repository. Then we build the native application accordingly. We are talking about Android and iOS native applications. After we run linters, depending on the platform, Android runs lint and detect, iOS runs Swift lint. And lastly, we run unit tests. So, as I gave a spoiler before, looks pretty simple, right? But that wasn't our reality. So let me pass it to Aline so she will explain our situation to you.
Of course not, it wouldn't be simple. We need to automate the code review rules to our team that our team did manually. These are the main rules for the pull request to be reviewed. Should have at least one approval of peers within the team to ensure business rules, because we don't have visibility of them, must maintain or increase code coverage by doing tests. Mailing our new code must have code coverage. Large pull requests are complex to review, so to maintain the review cadence, it must be less than 40 files in each pull request. Must neither disable nor suppress linters. This can introduce bugs already identified by these tools and should not have conflicts with development branch because it won't compile with conflicts. Another one is must use it WebP image files only. It is recommended in order to keep the sources and the bundle smaller. should have development branch as a target, since all pull requests will be integrated into the main developer branch, and so on. These are the principal rules that we try to automate with the solution.
Okay, so by learning all these rules, we can now make a comparison after the improvements. We had a pretty animation here, but due to platform limitations, it is not working. But please picture all these steps animated. So first, we set up again. Then in the new step, the pipeline checks, in case it is a pull request build, if there are any conflicts. In case there are, our bot, yet to be presented in the next slide, will comment and request changes. If that should be the case, we won't be able to integrate the code and the developer should be notified by the bot. Secondly, it checks for PNG files, since, as Aline said, the recommendation is to use WebP format for images in order to make the final app bundler smaller. Then the pipeline checks if the pull request is considered large for review and if it can be divided. Feature toggles or feature flags may be an ally for these cases. In the next step, the automation analyzes existing validation suppressions, such as static analysis, detect, lint, and swift lint, as I said before, or if baselines and validations are being deleted in order for the build to be successful. I know it's hard to believe, but that happens. Then runs a simple build, run linters, tests that didn't change, and then we check for code coverage, a new step. In code coverage, inside the repository, there is a baseline in the main development branch, and the automation compares it to the feature branch. In case the added code by the developer has a lower code coverage, more tests are required by our bot, yet to be presented. In the end, after all the steps are executed, if one of them fails, our bot will comment in the pull request, giving all the necessary feedback. There can be more than one type of feedback, as Aline will explain later to you. But now, you may be wondering, how long do all these new steps take to run? Surprisingly, in average, as you can see in the slide, it takes less than 1 minute. Of course, it may vary depending on the build environment. It could take a little longer to download the dependencies, or if the Bitbucket API takes a while to respond. In general, it is fast, and dare I say, faster than a code reviewer who take to check it all manually. I would like to bring up a phrase by Martin Fowler that says, "Nothing sucks the blood of a CI activity more than a build that takes a long time." But happily, this wasn't our case.
And now the magic of communication happens. How does this happen? Giving feedbacks into the pull request by the system team bot. After all the steps are executed, each step has a specific feedback. These feedbacks are centering in three actions on Bitbucket: commenting, requesting changes, and declining. For the conflict check step, in case a conflict is identified, it will request changes and comment in the pull request. In case other steps fail, such as to run tests or linters, the pull request will be declined by our bot, and it will comment why it was declined. In case all steps are successful, it will comment that your pull request is ready to be integrated. Each comment or feedback has details of each step of the step that has failed, and also links to documentation explaining why and how to correct the problem. Pretty clever, right?
Yeah, our bot is pretty clever and does all the job. So, to finish our solution, we have a few complementary automations that function apart from the pull request trigger. The first one is a schedule workflow executed on a daily basis that checks for two very specific conditions. If the pull request is not targeting the main development branch, the bot comments, so the developer knows that we will not integrate it until the pull request target is updated. Then the bot checks if the pull request is missing approval by another team peer. In this scenario, the bot will comment to request a review focused on business rules, as we said before. Lastly, after every integration into the development branch, we have another workflow after the code integration that checks if any other open pull requests are now in conflict proactively, so our bots can ask developers to solve it too. Okay, after speaking about our implementation, we want to share with you now the results that were the most important wins and benefits after all this implementation.
Okay. I froze a little. The most impressive one, the most impressive one result was faster code reviews. We reduce our code review time in 40%. Integrations are faster and simpler. We spend less time reviewing code manually. Before this implementation, we used to spend more than 3 hours per week by doing reviews manually.
Great, it's a pretty impressive number. And now, autonomy to development teams. That means, besides being faster for the teams to get these validations, feedbacks in the pull request, it is also simpler and less stressful, since we depersonalize the code reviewers and replace them with a bot. This has helped a lot with communication and feedback.
Last but not least, the better understanding of the development process. We created a new developer experience by giving to the developers first the feedbacks to the pull request by improving our CI pipelines and centralize communication into the Bitbucket. The way we reduce misconceptions and conflicts in review and problems with communications in other types of platforms.
And to finish, developers and reviewers are now in harmony, thanks to the bots, but in this case, it was one specific bot. So we want to thank you all for your presence, and we are now open to questions if you have any. So let me open the question tab here.
I here with a question.
Okay.
Can you provide more details about System Team Bot? You want to start, Elise?
Sorry, Aline, can you say it again? For me, it cut a
Provide
little bit.
more details about System Team Bot.
More details about System Team Bot. Okay,
Yeah.
I think I can answer this one. I don't know if you want to start. But okay, so our bot, it was, as Aline said in the text slide, it is a user that we have on Bitbucket that we can access it through the Fastlane plugins to do all the actions that we need. So the user that we called a bot, Fastlane sends, okay, this pull request has a negative feedback regarding unit tests. So the Fastlane sends to the Bitbucket API, use our bot user to decline this pull request and to comment to give feedback about that the tests were not successful, and about the documentation that the developer can use in order to fix their unit tests. I don't know if I answered the question, but it is it. This is the case. The bot is a user on Bitbucket that we manipulate by using the code, Ruby code, on Fastlane plugins.
Another question, thanks, Elise. Another question from Michael. How do you check test coverage in 10 seconds? One of the things I hate about my PR workflow is that it takes 10 minutes to upload code coverage data to Sona Cloud from Bitrise. We have a different process to that.
Yes, so we already executed all the tests in the pipeline. So we already used Slather and Jacoco. I don't know how to speak this fluently, but Jacoco in Android and Slather in iOS. It was already executed on the CI pipeline. So we just had to upload the file results that were already there. So the time was not complex because we just added the automation to check the code coverage. We didn't have to implement all the coverage again because it was already there. We just weren't using the results. but I know the pain it is.
Mm,
We know it.
Good code coverage and unknown pain, and a common pain for everyone. And looking for conflict. Another question from Michael. Looking for conflicts in other open PRs. That's very cool. How? I think I can answer. You can complete a little bit. We use the Bitbucket API to see what is showing there. So if the Bitbucket use a technique called the pre-merge comparison, I can say that, and we use the response from Bitbucket API that are conflicts in the pull request. So we use this information to tell our plugin, and our bot will comment that in the PR to the developers to correct this. After that, after we use the bot or the automation, we need to tell the developers personally by chat, and this how can I say decrease our time to this communication.
Yeah,
Do you
just
want
to
to?
complete, I
Yeah,
want to complete a little bit. We have a joke inside our team that we used to call that we have to babysit for pull requests because maybe it went into conflict or it had another issues and the developers weren't uh, how can I say this, weren't given enough attention for the pull request in case something was integrated before. So in this specific case, to do the conflict check proactively, we use a Bitbucket API endpoint that can get all the pull requests. And given the pull request ID, we can check the status. So if we list all open pull requests and the status is in conflict, then the bot can request changes through the Bitbucket API and
yeah.
comment telling the developer that the PR is now with conflict and it has to be solved. I don't know if I answered the question properly, but that's how we implement it.
I think so. Another question is also to peer approvals, conflicts, test coverage, automating in GitLab, GitHub with settings. How I think it is talking about actions from GitLab, GitHub, and how we are doing something different here.
So
Is the
we
question from
implemented,
Vinisha.
I don't know if I get it properly, but maybe Aline can
Yeah,
complete if I answer it wrongly. But Bitbucket hasn't does not have, at least in the time they implemented the solution that was less than 6 months ago, didn't had all these implementations that we needed ready in somewhere. So we had to create the Fastlane plugin to do all these business rules and do all the communication with the Bitbucket API. Also, this is a case for a ThoughtWorks clients, so it has have a little bit of more requirements to implement this. So it was not just tell that it is missing another a review from a team peer. We have to check if this team peer is not already assisting team reviewer because we can approve the pull request before the team peer. And if this team peer is the case for the is actually the person that is reviewing from the team that has to review it. So it was a very specific set of rules for this specific client. So that's why we had to make a new solution and to just be okay with the tech stack that the client already had.
yeah. Great, Olivia.
Okay, so I think I'll
And
have to finish because our time's done.
yes,
So
I think we
if
have
you have any feedback,
two more. I think we have two more questions. I don't know if we have times. Maybe
no, we don't have time,
no,
but
no have time.
we can answer you directly. So I will check the questions and we will send a message to you because our time unfortunately is done.
Okay.
So
Let's
feedbacks
see.
are welcome. If anyone want to reach us by Twitter or LinkedIn, here are our contacts. And thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.